Hey guys, it's Max with Max Tech. Samsung just released the new Galaxy Tab S6, and today we are going to be comparing it against the S5e and figuring out, is it worth spending the extra money for the Tab S6, or should you save some and go with the S5e that we did multiple videos on a few months ago when it launched, and we were really impressed by. Now they're both sitting here on the table in front of me, and you probably cannot tell the difference between them. That is because a lot of the design is very similar. The screen resolution is the same. We're going to test out brightness here in just a second, but there actually are some minor differences. The S5e is slightly lighter and also slightly thinner, but when you look at them, even when you feel them and hold them in your hands, you cannot tell the difference. And the fact that both of these are so lightweight makes them really nice to use for extended periods. Now, when I go ahead and flip these over, now you'll start seeing some of the differences. With the S5e, we have a single camera, and I will be taking a photo shortly compared to the dual camera system. But the even bigger difference is this little bevel, or this little kind of a spot for the S Pen that is included with the Tab S6, and that will connect magnetically. On the left hand side, we have these little connectors for the keyboards, along with a couple cutouts that help the tablets hold more securely to the keyboard. And at the top, we see we have microphones here and also on the bottom. So both these tablets have quad speakers, which is really nice for different content. They both have USB-C for connections with 15-watt chargers, same amount of battery. But when we flip to this side, we start noticing a little bit of a difference. We have the volume rockers here. Both of them have micro SD card slots. I'll talk about the capacities in just a second. But as you could tell, with the S5e, the power button is different, and that's because it actually has a built-in fingerprint scanner that I really liked. It's super fast. With the Tab S6, we have an optical underneath the display fingerprint scanner, which is interesting because Samsung's smartphones use ultrasonic underneath the display sensors, and this one actually is quite a bit faster and more reliable. So every single time I turn it on, it is quick and it gets it. So that is a positive, but you do have to turn on the display first. Whereas with the Tab S5e, the scanner is on the side and it's both a power button, so you can just in one little click both turn on the display and get into it. So it is faster having that, and I would say I would prefer the S5e's fingerprint scanner. The last thing that I want to mention design-wise, with the Tab S6, we have a little bevel all around the actual tablet, which makes it just look a little bit more premium. It has a little bit of a shine to it when light hits it compared to just the standard S5e. Both of these tablets have excellent OLED displays. They have high resolutions, large pixel densities, and really deep blacks because of the fact that they're OLED. And on paper, they're basically the same. But what's very interesting is looking at them now, when I max out the brightness, the S5e looks slightly brighter, but it also has a cooler white balance out of the factory compared to the Tab S6. Now, I don't know if that's just manufacturing differences or how they're tuning them, but that is something to note. Now, as far as reflectivity and viewing angles, if you're looking from the side, all of that looks to be exactly the same. Jumping into a YouTube video, I'm gonna play back this 4K HDR file. Of course, we can't stream in 4K, but we can do 1440p, which gives us a lot of detail here. One big difference though is that with the Tab S5e, the YouTube app is not playing HDR. Playing standard, whereas with the Tab S6, it is playing HDR and all the software is up to date. Now, depending on the shot, you could prefer one or the other, but in general, you're gonna get greater dynamic range and more highlight details with HDR on. Now, some other apps could support HDR with the S5e, but the S6 is HDR 10 Plus certified. So if that's what you're looking for, you're gonna get a better result with the S6. But either way, both of these have a fantastic experience if you want to watch movies, music videos, anything like that. Now, there is one other major difference between the displays, and that is support for an S Pen. The S5e does not support it, not even if you buy one aftermarket. It just is not set up for this, whereas the Tab S6 does support it, and the S Pen is included in the box. So if you're somebody that likes to draw, you like to take notes, do things like that, you want to have a stylus, you definitely have to go for the Tab S6. And with the Tab S6, we also, like as I mentioned, have this little cutout or this little embossed area where the S Pen now magnetically connects. Let's do it the right way. There you go. and that just makes it easier for you to keep it with you. It actually stays on fairly well. It does wiggle around if you bump it, but I think this is a much better solution than what they did with the Tab S4. Now, along with the updated S Pen and the little area that's magnetic, we have a new updated keyboard that has a couple new things. So first off, let me set this down here. We actually have a nice little slot for the S Pen here, and let's go ahead and attach this. There we go. So this helps out to be able to not lose your S Pen if you're going to be throwing it in your bag. And this little side literally just pops off like that. You can pull it out, flip it, just like that. So that's actually really nice. And I love that it's actually a two-piece system now instead of a one-piece keyboard. So you can detach the keyboard part of it and just have this little kind of protection for the back and your little holder for the S Pen. Or you can actually, let's get this attached magnetically. And then now we have a full cover. So it's very flexible. And there's also a little kickstand built in here. And so we can actually adjust the angle. So this is all the way down right here. Let me turn this back on. So it gets fairly low. Or I can raise it up if I'm going to be sitting down. And as you guys can see, there's also one other update with the keyboard, and this is very exciting, and this is the trackpad. So right away, when we put our keyboard on, I can already just touch it and have a cursor just like on a laptop, and this is really gonna help make this a better laptop replacement. We actually are having an upcoming video comparing the iPad to the Galaxy Tab S6 as far as which one's a better laptop replacement, so make sure you guys are subscribed and you guys have notifications enabled. The Tab S5e does also have a keyboard accessory. It is less expensive than the one for the Tab S6, but it's much less capable. We don't have that trackpad on there, and we don't have that little cool kickstand either. So it's a more traditional kind of tablet keyboard. The typing experience is pretty good for something that's so compact, but if I was somebody that wanted to use a keyboard quite often enough to spend over $100 on one, I would definitely try to go for the Tab S6 because of the extra capabilities. Now it's time to compare the speakers. Now, as I mentioned earlier, both of these have quad speakers, which is great, but is the sound quality the same, or is the Tab S6 better? Let's start out with the S5e. I don't know about you guys, but to us, the Tab S6 does sound a little bit louder, maybe a little bit more full. You guys let us know down in the comments section below. Before we talk about performance, which is a major difference between these two, let's take a quick look at cameras. So the Galaxy Tab S5e does have a front-facing camera, a camera on the back, but the S6 actually has dual cameras on the back, which might be a first, at least that I know of, for a tablet. I'm not really sure why you need an ultra-wide lens, but here's a shot with the regular one. There we go. And then we have an ultra-wide, which is crazy. And you guys let us know which one looks better, or if you can tell a difference. And now it's time to talk about performance, where we should see a pretty substantial difference. So both these have Snapdragon processors. We have the 670 for the S5e and the 855, which is more of a flagship processor for the Tab S6. They're both 8 cores, but the Tab S5e has 6 slow cores and 2 fast cores, whereas this one has 1 ultra fast core, 3 fast cores, and then 4 power saving cores. I'm gonna start running Geekbench 5 here. We're gonna compare the results, but I also wanna talk about the RAM differences and the storage differences. If we compare the base models, the Tab S6 comes with 6 gigs of RAM compared to 4 with the S5e, and then if you spend $80 more, you'll get double the storage for both, from 64 to 128 and from 128 to 256, and on top of that, you'll get 2 extra gigs of RAM, so you can get up to 8 with the Tab S6 compared to 6. That's not a huge difference, but it is there. Now, another thing I wanna mention while we're waiting for this test to finish up is the battery life. Both of them have the same battery, a little over 7,000 milliamp hours, but because of the weaker processor in the S5e, you will get better battery life. All right, finally the S5e is finished. That took a while, and in multi-core, we have a score of almost double with the Tab S6, but in single core, it's actually more than twice as fast, and that is what you notice in those little things like opening up the web browser or certain apps that don't need all of the cores. It definitely feels snappier, and if you're gonna do intensive CPU tasks, different larger apps, photo editing, some video stuff, you definitely want the better performance of the Tab S6. And as far as graphics, as you guys can see, the difference is massive, close to 4 times faster, 4 times more powerful with the Tab S6, and this is something that you actually notice day to day. With the S5e, in my review, I complained about stutters and little glitches and slowdowns when I'm swiping through the UI, and with the Tab S6, it is much better improved. Now, along with that, if for somebody who's going to be doing things like gaming, you will definitely notice a difference. Now, let me know down in the comment section below if you want Angelica to do a gaming comparison between these two. I think we know the results, but if you guys want to see a video like that with a couple different games, let me know down below. All right, guys, so there you guys have it, the comparison between the S5e and the Tab S6. And the last thing that we need to talk about is the value. Is it worth spending more money on the Tab S6? And I would say absolutely. If you're watching this video and you're seriously contemplating between buying one of these over the other, I would say definitely spend the extra money. If you need some time, you need to wait, save up a little bit more, please do that and get the Tab S6. Now, with that said, there is still a market for the Galaxy S5e. If you're somebody that just needs a web browser, you're gonna watch videos, listen to some music, simple tasks like that, this will still get the job done. As long as you know that you're not gonna be running a bunch of apps, multitasking, using decks, stuff like that, this could still be a great device, but make sure you know what you're getting into. And I would say if you're doing that, don't spend the extra money to get extra storage or RAM unless you're buying it refurbished, which you can actually get some pretty good deals. I will leave a link down in the video description, and you could still be happy with this. But for most people, I would say spend the extra money, get the Tab S6, especially if you want to get a keyboard as well, because that keyboard is so much more capable. You can detach it, you have that kickstand, and of course you get the S Pen with it included and a lot more performance. So thank you guys for watching. If you guys want to see more videos on these, make sure you guys click that little circle to subscribe and enable notifications down below. We actually already did a comparison with the iPad Pro against the Tab S6, and some of the results were very interesting. So if you guys want to see that, click that little box right over there, and we will be doing a full review as well that you guys do not want to miss out on. This has been Max with Max Tech, and I will see you guys in the next video.